Very interesting. Okay, so can you guys download the week 11 review? It's on the Google Drive.
Wait, is this do we have to turn 11 in?
No, there's no, this is review.
Okay.
This is not in class. In class is done.
Yeah, to understand. Where is week 11? It's under.
It should be on the Google Drive.
Yeah, I don't. Saying on that's in column C, row 1, it is just like chaos. It looks like this.
I think it's just like if you press on enable editing and see if it changes. It shouldn't matter because it's in the steps, right?
Yeah, it's in the steps.
It should be fine.
It looks like X. Oh shit! It's just overlapping over X. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to be doing question number 6. Wait. Of the review, right? So it's linear regression. So we have the tidy data here. And the question, it says create a new variable GDP billion, where GDP billion is basically GDP divided by 1 billion. So now you have the GDP in terms of billions of dollars. So on 6, if you see here, we have the GDP. So you can copy paste the data from tidy. You can copy paste this data into 6A here, and you have the GDP here. So basically, just GDP billion is just dividing this GDP value by 1 billion. So you'll get the GDP value in billions. And using the full tidy data set, consider GDP billion and poverty as the independent variables and life expectancy as a dependent variable. So create a scatter plot for GDP billion versus life expectancy. So if you go here on 6B1, there's the scatter plot, but you can create it. So select all the data and insert charts and scatter plot. So you see this scatter plot, right? Wait. So you see the scatter plot. And if you go here, you can select the trend line. If you select trend line, and within trend line, you can select linear. And if you do more options here, you can go down and do the display R squared value on chart. So it will show somewhere. Yeah.
Can you share the on Zoom so Ella can see it, like screen share?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Sorry, Ella. Uh, yeah. So if you see here, you can put R square value on the chart. So you see R square here is 0.0187, which, as discussed in the lecture, is a very low R square value. And you can see it also. If you see the trend line here, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Um, so yeah, so basically it's not showing a lot of um, very strong relationship between the GDP and life expectancy. It, wait. Oh, okay. I think one thing that you have to do is switch them. So obviously, the independent variable is always on the x-axis and the dependent is on y-axis. So I have it the other way around. So, so, so you can go to the select data here and you can switch A with B. It should be able to do it automatically, but somehow, for some reason, it's not doing that. But in any case, you can do it manually here. And where's my chart? Yeah, so this is what it looks like, right? So as GDP increases, the life expectancy, like it's not something like, a meaningful relationship you can see here. Like it's trying to build a trend line, but it's not, and that is captured by the R square value. So, um, yeah. Oh, here. So you just take this GDP value, right? The original value, and just divide it by 1 billion.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So your R square value is um oh, this is sorry, this is R square. So your R would be uh your R square is 0.0187. And so your R would be the square root of this. So it's 0.1367, which is not a very, like big number. So that's your R value, 0.136. And so you can say like it's not a it's a it kind of like signifies a negligible relationship between GDP in billions and life expectancy, as the coefficient is lower than 0.3. Okay. Um, so then we create a scatter plot for poverty versus life expectancy. So you can copy paste both these values here. And actually, what you should be doing is, Always try to keep like the independent variable on the left side because when it draws the chart, it takes the left side as X and right side as Y. So if you insert chart and do the scatter plot here, this is what it looks like for so poverty is on the um, x-axis, and then your life expectancy is on the y-axis, right? So I would say disregard this chart. Um, and let's put some axis titles also. So this is poverty. And then this is life expectancy, right? So you can also put insert the trend line here. So you see the trend line. This looks, even when you look at the chart, you do see some relationship that as poverty is increasing, life expectancy is decreasing, which you would expect. And so you can go to the more options, display R square. So your R square is 0.3975, and the relationship is negative. So your R square is 0.3975. And so your R would be equal to um, square root of this value, and it would be negative because this is a negative relationship. Um, so it's the R value is 0.63, which signifies a moderately negative relationship. So you just use that chart that the professor showed you when you're rating um, different R values. So this indicates a moderately negative relationship between poverty and life expectancy, where poverty increases, where as poverty decreases, life expectancy increases, or vice versa. Is there any question related to this till now? Any confusion or anything?
Question like 62 have a question in it, or 63 or 61.
Yeah, because like it's you see in the question list there. So it's like 6C, then it's part one, part two. It shouldn't have a question. Like
It's just like a blank sheet.
you're using just the review one. You're not using the key.
No.
Oh yeah, the key should be like it should be like empty because you can put your answers there in the review in the normal sheet. So there are two sheets.
Question.
Oh, question. I think we didn't put the questions. Questions you pick from that sheet, the quantitative. No, from the quantitative question. Yeah, from the quantitative. So if you go to the website here, you see this quantitative test kit.
Uh,
Look at that, the quantitative test, and you can review the questions here. So you just open that question. So that's 6C. Let's do 6D. So estimate how GDP, billion, and poverty predict life expectancy using regression. Write down the equation that represents this regression. What are the values of the below measures? And interpret the meaning of each measure. So um, if you go here, um, you have the GDP. So you can go to the 6A sheet. So you have GDP, life expectancy, and poverty here. So what you can do is use that stat plus tool and go to regression and new analysis, regression, multiple linear regression. And for your dependent variable, the dependent variable is your life expectancy. So you can put the column D in for that. And then you have two independent variables. So you can select two independent variables. One is your GDP per billion, and then the other is your poverty, right? And you can then run this. Yeah. Um, Sorry, is the dependent the Y range or we have change? Dependent is always the Y range. Yeah, because you're trying to predict it. Uh, but here it's not taking like Y or X ranges. So you should get the results here. Um, there are some results in the 6D also, but you can use this. I think this is more comprehensive. Uh, everyone's getting these results. Good. Any questions? No confusion, right? Okay. So the equation uh, excluded value, there shouldn't be an excluded value because we didn't do any binary. Are you sure you use these two? Um, there shouldn't be any excluded value. The result should look something like this. Um, So if you look at this result, this is your equation. So life expectancy is equal to the intercept minus the coefficient of GDP per billion and the coefficient of poverty uh, into poverty, right? Um, so your constant is given here 82.4. Your coefficient of GDP is 0.000001, and your coefficient for poverty is minus 0.3452. Your adjusted R square is 0.39. Um, and adjusted R squared basically explains how much variation in your dependent variable is explained by the independent variables or the predictor variables. So approximately 39.6% or 40% of the variability is explained by the predictor variables. And then the 95% confidence interval is given here for like this LCL and UCL in the results. So 95% confidence interval for poverty coefficient is 0.38 43 to minus 0.3843 to minus 0.3062, right? Um, and what else? And something you can also check is this p-value. So if you see for GDP, p-value is 0.37, which means your null hypothesis is accepted, which means that the GDP value for coefficient is not statistically different from zero, which indicates that there most probably is not a relationship between between the dependent and the independent variable. Whereas for poverty, the null hypothesis is rejected, which means that it is a non-zero value. And so you can say that there's a statistically significant relationship between both the variables. Yes.
Can you go to 6A, please?
Where the original data is?
In my poverty data, when the cell is empty, has just like a period in it. And that's making me Russian also because it's just non-generic.
Um,
It's poverty.
wait,
Maybe it's not on 6A.
Kate, I have the same problem.
where did you download this key?
Yeah. So it's on 6A under the poverty, and when you download it, there's a period instead of nothing, and it's a non-numeric value, and I get the error that it has a non, even when I start with G2.
Wait, is the question and the key sheet different?
Yeah, the key sheet and the 11 key sheet and then the regular 11 sheet is different. They have different values for
Oh,
poverty.
okay. Wait.
That's the problem.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. I skipped a step. Okay, sorry, my bad. So when you're doing the key, remove all the values where where poverty values missing. So you have to clean the data because obviously you cannot run regression analysis with. So what you can do is you can select poverty and filter out all the dot values. Or you can download the key, which will have that. So yeah, always remember that the regression analysis, you need to have values filled. You cannot have missing values. Um, so always have data, which is, so that is part of data cleaning. So you can either impute this data, like you can, and I told you about like how you can impute, you can like, take mean or average, but in this case, there are almost 2000 rows and only 400 rows or 500 rows have like poverty data, which means like 1500 rows are missing. So you cannot like guess here. So it's better to just remove it for this analysis, obviously.
How do we remove you just have to like filter out like the periods.
So if you filter out periods, and then you can just copy paste the data, because if you filter out and you run regression analysis, it's still going to take those values which are filtered out. So you can just copy paste this and copy and paste this as values in another sheet. Did everyone get it? No? Okay, so
Still something from non-numeric though.
okay, so if you go to you see the tidy full, right? You can filter out the poverty here.
I did filter the period, that just like still.
Okay. But you have to copy paste the values. So you select all and copy and create a new sheet and copy and paste them as values. So now you should have a new sheet, because if you're going to run the regression on that, even though it's filtered out, it's still going to consider those values.
Yeah. Also, still pack is also having, it's not recognizing. So. Very important. Yeah. Like that. That's why I don't like this feedback, because it has these weird things. Did you not use the stat plus? What? The stat plus, the one that I have, that I used, this one. I downloaded behind. Oh, okay. So you can do the stat plus. It also, you can use it for regression. Kate, you got it? No. No? It's okay, I'll come back to you. That's fine. So I put the diet and poverty against one. In fact, I'm thinking. I think in last population, there should be like maybe usage. And even with that, very population. Okay, how about it from select all select all the data. And copy it. Maybe I choose to. No, don't need to record it. Right, taste specials. Because if you control it's still going to pull all the data. That even you filter out. Now, if you run it, it will run. Okay. So
Everyone else got it? Let me know if there's some issues. Um, so yeah, I think it's just so I've covered the slopes for GDP and poverty. So what it means basically, these slopes, these values for coefficients mean that if you're holding all else equal, um, like if you're holding the GDP equal, then uh, if poverty decreases by 1 unit, or in this case, like 1%, then your life expectancy poverty increases by 1%, then your life expectancy decreases by 0.34 years. And similarly, you can do that for the GDP. And finally, using the regression results and the corresponding equation, what is the predictive life expectancy for a country with GDP 750 billion and poverty 70%? So you can just use this equation to get the answer. So you can take the coefficients from your results here. So first is intercept. So intercept plus plus your coefficient for GDP into the GDP that is given here, 750 billion. So remember that your GDP is already in billions, so you don't have to put the billion. So you just have to put 750 because we already converted GDP to in billions. And then plus the coefficient of poverty into poverty value, which is 70%. So that should give you a life expectancy of 58.1 years when you're using the exact values. Um, so this might be like just an estimated value based on this equation that they copy pasted, but this is exact values. Um, so yeah, it gives you life expectancy of 58.1 years. Everyone get this? Any questions? Yeah.
But I don't seem to know the genetic analysis.
It's that's basically the tool type that you're using. So I covered that like in the steps. You're looking at the steps. I'll change that. It should either refer to the stat plus or the tool type that you use, the analysis tool type. Because I think this key is from last year, and it has some terms which Excel updated, so you know that you know. I'll update it. Thank you for reminding. Uh, so yeah. Uh, Anything else? Okay, so I'm assuming everything's good with you guys. You understand this. This is going to be on the quantitative exam. The data set will be different, but the questions will be very similar. So just make sure you really know how to do all of this. Um,
Will we be asked any of the questions from you, or is it just going to be stuff like this?
it will be like this. It will all be Excel. Yeah. Um, But I mean, like the questions that are there. So like some of the Excel questions also are like very similar, like interpret a coefficient or what does. So it might ask you to calculate adjusted R-square, but then ask you like what does it mean, right? So yeah, you should know some concepts. But that's already it's already on here also. Uh, okay, so now to your group projects. So you need to work on that as a group. Um, Start doing that. Let me pull up the slides. You can get in your groups and start working on that because you do have to present at the end. So uh, take like 30 minutes till 11:45 to do that and make a slide or and then upload it where it shows, and then each group like presents quickly their slide. You can do 1 or 2 slides, just your regression results, what you did, how you clean the data, and your regression results. Yes.
Yeah. So,